S.S.S. Vayikra, big weekend. Starting from today, of course, today, as you know, was S.S.S. Mukdam, which is because Purim falls out on Motzei Shabbos this year. So S.S.S. was today. So we have so many things that we could talk about over this weekend, over this Shabbos. S.S.S. Vayikra is this Shabbos. Vayikra Zachor, which is always right before Purim. And then, of course, we have Purim on Sunday. We have Purim Monday in Yerushalayim for those who are in Yerushalayim or other cities in Eretz Yisrael that have a wall from the time of Yeshua ben Nun, where you have Purim on the 15th. So we have a tremendous, tremendous weekend. So the only question is what we should speak about and what kind of message we want to deliver that we can bring in this entire weekend and actually use it to our advantage to grow, to do something constructive over the next few days. So I thought about it, and I pulled out my trusty Nesivos Shalom special sefer, special book on Purim, beautiful Divrei Torah on Purim. And that's the direction, that's the way we're going to go tonight. We're going to speak about Purim. And as you know, that Purim is a day that every person should really take advantage. Like, unfortunately, sometimes some people are not in the position. We get caught up in the external things of Purim. We get caught up in all the shtick and all the whatever and all the noise. Even though it happens to be, interesting, I got a saw from some Gedolim in Eretz Yisrael this year. In Eretz Yisrael, they're going to, rightfully so, of course, tone down Purim a little bit this year. There are so many Yidden suffering, hostages still in Gaza. But on the other hand, we have to remember what Purim is all about. The message of Purim, which we're going to speak about tonight, is that Hashem is always on our side. And at the end of the day, left in the dustbin behind us are the Romans and the Greeks and the people from and Amalekim and all throughout history, everyone who ever started with Klal Yisrael, they're gone. We're here and they're gone. And that's the message we want to talk about a little bit tonight. We need to understand what Purim is all about and what we can take out of Purim to inspire us. The Nesivos Shalom tells us that the beginning of the Nes Purim, he tries to put his finger on exactly where the Nes Purim started. Where did everything turn around? Things were unbelievably bleak. Haman had a decree, lashmid, laroig, liabein, it's kol haYehudim, to kill out every Jew. And we all understand there are people in the world today that want to do the same thing. Just with Hashem's chesed, they don't have the capability. But Haman at that time was a powerful man. And he had the capability. And everything looked terrible. He had the authorization from Achashverosh. He had authorization to do as he pleased. But when did it turn around? When did the dial turn and shift that Klal Yisrael was in the driver's seat? It says in Nesivos Shalom, it turned around when, if you take a look in the Megillah, Mordechai said with authority, he said something, think about it, how was he able to say this? He was talking to Esther Amalka, and he says to Esther Amalka, he wanted Esther Amalka to go into Achashverosh to try to toy something for Klal Yisrael. And Mordechai tells Esther Amalka, he says, Revach ve'atzola yamoid laYehudim imokoim acher. That Esther, if you're not going to do it, he said, Mordechai said with authority, that he knows that there is going to be Revach ve'atzola, there's going to be salvation for Klal Yisrael, and if it's not coming from you, we're definitely going to have it. It's not a question of if. If you read the words, that's what Mordechai was saying. He wasn't saying if it's going to happen. It wasn't a question of if. The only question that Mordechai HaTzadik had was how. How is this Yeshua going to come about? And the Nesivos Shalom points out that it's right after that, right after Mordechai said, Revach v'atzola yamoid laYehudim mimokoim acher, he said it definitively. This is what's going to happen. Right after that, that's when everything turned around. And Esther Amalka said, "Uvechein avoyel hamelech hashaloi chadas, v'chasher avodati avodati." Esther Amalka was willing to just go ahead and do some very unorthodox things which normally you need invitations from the king, this and that. And Esther Amalka, once she heard that from Mordechai HaTzadik, she was ready to go ahead and do what she had to do. And remember, until that point, it was a complete disaster. It was complete blackness. You didn't see any hope. There was no light at all. But when Mordechai said this, when he said his statement as a metzias, not as a question, not as an assumption or a possibility, Mordechai said it so definitively, that's when everything turned around. The solution began right then, and Esther Amalka understood that. When she heard Mordechai talking in this way, then Esther said right away, I'm going to Achashverosh. Now everything is going to be good. So now let's try to understand a little bit, first of all, the dialogue between what was going on between Mordechai HaTzadik and Esther Amalka. What was going on over here? And why was it just because of this that everything turned around? Now, this powerful bitachon of Mordechai HaTzadik came from somewhere. So the Nesivos Shalom brings from the Torah's Avos in Parshas Vayikra, not this week's Parsha we spoke about many, many weeks ago, and he says like this, he says from the Saba Kadisha, from Slonim, Zechusi Yogan Aleinu, and I'm sure I'll get from Rabbi Brul, trying to figure out exactly when the Saba Kadisha lived and how many generations back. But it won't take long. As soon as we finish the shir, I'm sure I'll have the information already. And the Saba Kadisha Mislonim points out something that every person has to remember. It says we all need to know that there is a regular hanhaga of the world, of the way of the world, that is set in its ways on Rosh Hashanah. We know on Rosh Hashanah we daven, and Hashem decides what's going to be for that year, and He sets everything in motion. The regular hanhaga of the world is set in motion on Rosh Hashanah. And they're set in motion for the entire year. It's decided where a person will go, how much he'll make, what's going to be, what's going to happen the whole year. That is from Rosh Hashanah where Hashem decides. But says the Saba Kadisha Mislonim that Yidden, people of Klal Yisrael, have to know that there's another hanhaga, there's another level above that. And you know what that level is? He says, we know that Hashem, who is the Mikor HaRachamim, HaKadosh Baruch who is endless in Chesed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is without any boundaries. We can't say that things are set in motion on Rosh Hashanah and HaKadosh Baruch Hu can't step out those boundaries. Of course, HaKadosh Baruch Hu can. There are no constraints. There are no boundaries. HaKadosh Baruch Hu can go outside of the plan that's planned for Rosh Hashanah. He can go outside of that box and He can bring more chesed and pour down chesed and rachamim to go around the regular rules. And that's the way the world works. So says the Saba Kadisha from Slonim. And when Klal Yisrael is zoicha, we can receive this special hanhaga. The only Klal Yisrael can get this special behavior, kaviyachol, from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But the Nesivos Shalom tells us even more. And he says, you know when we receive this special hanhaga? You know when HaKadosh Baruch Hu breaks the rules and does special things for Klal Yisrael? The time that Hashem does these special things for Klal Yisrael is davka, when everything seems totally lost. When we are in so much trouble and we're in a great eis tzara, it is davka then, at that moment, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels the need, kaviyachol. HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels the want and the need to reveal this great chesed for Klal Yisrael. As the Gemara, Masechta Yuma, Daf Chav Ches Amud Beis, tells us, Yoima de'eva kulei shimsha. Very interesting, cryptic statement, but basically, in a nutshell, what this means is that a day that is totally, absolutely cloudy is really all sunshine. I don't know, maybe it's referring to right above the clouds, but whatever it is, But if it's all cloudy, if it's totally cloudy, then it's all sunshine. What does that mean? At the darkest and the cloudiest times, that's when the Shefa Bracha and Chesed come out. That's when Hashem uses the highest level of Chesed. And that's when Hashem is there most for us. Another raya, the Gemara Masech Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Zayin Amud Aleph, tells us also that when an entire Bezdin, very interesting halacha, everybody knows this, when an entire Bezdin, every single person in Bezdin says that someone is guilty, then that person goes out and he's innocent. He's patur. Because that's the way Hashem wants the world. When it seems that everything is against you and everything is wrong, when it seems totally dark and lost, that's when the light comes through. And Chazal tell us, a little further, Masechta Sanhedrin, Daf Tzadiches Amud Aleph, that Ein Ben David Ba, that Mashiach is only going to come Elo B'dor Shekuloi Zakai or Kuloi Chayev. Either the entire generation is going to be worthy, or the entire generation is unworthy for Geula. So very good. We all understand Kuloi Zakai. We understand that makes a lot of sense. If everyone's good, if everyone's totally doing the will of Hashem, then of course Mashiach should come. But what does it mean that it's going to come to a generation that's Kuloi Chayev? Everyone is doing the wrong thing? Says the Nesivos Shalom, and this is what the Gemara is trying to tell us, that when it seems that we're totally undeserving, and it's so bad, and so much, it seems that it's so darkness, and we're lost, and it seems that it's all over, that is dafka the moment that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is coming to save us, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is coming to get us. So in the time of Mordechai and Esther, we know the matzav was la'ashmid, le'aroig, le'abedes kol ha'Yehudim. It was the worst darkness ever, like never before. But we need to remember, Shepshifleinu Zachar Lanu. When we're at a low, when we are low, Zachar Lanu, that is when HaKadosh Baruch Hu really remember us. And Mordechai HaTzadik, Mordechai saw that, and he knew that. So Mordechai saw what was going on. It seemed like there was no hope. So he was able to say with authority, the salvation is going to come now. I have no doubt that if it doesn't come from here, it's going to come from something else. According to the regular way of the world, it does seem quite bleak. It seems very, very dark. But that is for regular people. That's for regular people who think like regular people. But we as Klal Yisrael, we know better. We know that even something which is nichtav and nechtam b'tabas hamelech, like it says in the Megillah, could be turned around and brightened by Hashem. In an instant, that could happen. And just as the darkness was one of unheard of proportions, so too, keneged that, the light and salvation is at least as great as that. So says the Arizal, it's zeh le'uma zeh, zeh keneged zeh. And as soon as Esther heard that, she knew that she can do the unconventional things and go into Achashverosh, go to the king, and ask for Klal Yisrael. And this is our lesson of Purim. This is what Purim is all about. The lesson of how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there for us when it seems bad. Chas v'shalom. When it seems that we are down and out and everything is over. And what a lesson this is for every one of us today. You look around the world, wherever we turn here in Golus in the United States, Europe, Australia, wherever you are watching this year, you could honestly say very straightforward, and especially in Eretz Yisrael and surrounding Eretz Yisrael, it seems like everybody wants to write us off. Everybody wants to kill. Everybody wants Klal Yisrael. They're being run after in every place in the world. But we shouldn't get down about it, because we know that when it comes down to this is dafka exactly where Hashem wants them, and this is where Hashem wants us. So Revach, the Atzola, Yam of the Yehudim, it's going to happen again today, and I have no question in my mind. It's happening right now, and it's going to happen very soon. I wish everybody a good Shabbos, Vayikra Purim, and we look forward to Simchas and Klal Yisrael.